you. This is a doozy. Didn't ever expect that this would happen, so thank you for having me. My name is Dayna Lee. I am a chef by trade. I don't do stuff like this. I typically engage with people through their mouths and their stomachs, not, public speaking. So bear with me. I am not rich. I never will be, never have been. No. But I consider myself to be one of the wealthiest individuals in the world because I've created a community. All of my life, I've felt like I don't particularly belong. I've felt like kind of the odd one out. Something about me was a little different. I felt too hard. I see things for how they are. I read people like a book. So I've often felt alone. Community has two definitions. I actually, up until very recently, thought it only had one definition. The first definition, which by default we are all a part of, is a group of people who live in the same space and share a common characteristic. Okay, we're all here. This is a community. It wasn't until recently, within the last few years, that I learned that community has a second definition as well. Feeling of fellowship. A feeling of fellowship is what I've chased my entire life, and I had no idea what I was chasing. I kept thinking to myself, why is there something it's not clicking, my purpose it's not doing what I want it to do. And it's like I'm battling with myself. It took me making a very life-altering decision of moving 1,200 miles away from my home, my community, right? The community that I was in was that first definition. I don't want that first definition. I want to feel fellowship. A little bit of a backstory about me. I am, aside from nervous, I am a Latina from Brownsville, Texas, born and raised. I lived in a bubble. Being from the frontera, the border, means that I am not from here and I am not from there. Again, ties back into never belonging. I'm the oldest of four, self-proclaimed black sheep. And again, like I said, always kind of struggling to really feel connected to a group. So I made this life-altering decision to uproot everything I know and come to Greenville, South Carolina. And when I tell you that it was the best decision I've ever made, I am so grateful. But I did it. And I think now, looking back, subconsciously, I did it because I was like, hey, this over here is not fulfilling. This isn't working. Something's got to give. And when I moved to Greenville, South Carolina, I continued to stumble. I'm a stumbling girl. I stumble and stumble and stumble and stumble. And I like to do things the hard way also, because why would I do things the easy way? Of course not. We got to struggle. But I've continued to stumble my entire life. And I've always been very service-oriented. I know I want to help people. I know that because of the way that I'm built, I don't know what the word for that is, but the way that I'm built, like I'm a feeler. I feel things. I want to connect people. I thrive off of that. Because of that, I knew that there was something more. I kept stumbling my way through corporate America, kept trying to hold, office jobs. Don't ever, no, absolutely not. I have to work for myself because otherwise it's not going to work. And I thought, you know what, maybe me being part of the service industry, that's my way of connecting with people. Absolutely not. No. So I had this one job, and I'm not going to name anything because I've already been told I can't, but I had this one job, and I was an office coordinator. Basically, I would order the catered lunches. It was ridiculous, right? But it was real fancy. It was up in the 5th floor of a building, and it was cool. I had to dress up, also horrible. But I had to basically coordinate stuff for the office. And I started to realize that I had this corporate card, right? So they're like, you just order as much as you need for the office, cool. Well, people were leaving a lot of food behind, right? And I'm like, okay, there's a big waste happening here. And like everybody's so involved in what they've got going on in their little offices. And, I'm just happy to be here. And I had all this leftover food. Mind you, this is in the middle of downtown Greenville. With all this leftover food, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm Mexican. We don't throw food away. Absolutely not. With that being said, I remember looking out of the window, and I remember looking down, and I remember seeing folks who obviously could have used a little help. I don't know their story. I don't know what kind of help they needed, but I know that that food that was going to go to waste would have been helpful for them. So I packed it up in a cart, rolled it down, got in the elevator with a cart of boxed lunches, took it downstairs, and I started walking through downtown Greenville in my office attire, mind you, and I started chatting with people to see and gauge if they could benefit from these extra boxes of food. Whoa. Whoa, there is a huge need. It got to the point to where when I'm ordering food, once a week for our office lunches, there's consistently extra. So it got to the point to where these people started to expect me on every Wednesday. And looking back at it now, I see now that that's where I found what I'd been missing. Like, that second definition of community is so ingrained in my head because it's a feeling of fellowship with people that I really, truly don't have much in common with. So, corporate America doesn't work out, obviously. Didn't pan out, we gave it an honest go. They said, you're better suited to not be here. That's fine. All right, that's cool. That's cool. So now I'm living in Greenville, South Carolina, right? At this point, I've made it my home. Again, I'm not from here, but I'm starting to make it my home. I missed the community, the first definition of community. I missed that. Lo and behold, I barely found out that not everybody eats the way that we do back home. Again, a bubble. So I'm missing home, I'm missing my food, but I remember that feeling of, wait, when I took that extra food down there and I connected with these people, whose names I don't remember, but their faces, I'll always remember their face. That clicked something in me. And I had a brilliant idea of let me start selling food. Yes, I am a chef by trade, dishwasher in the evenings, chef during the day. But I don't have like a background. I didn't go to culinary school, no. Again, I'm Mexican, so what I learned, my grandmother taught me. Your traditional family holiday meals, right? And it was after she passed away, I was like, wow, that connection is really gone now. All I have is what she taught me. And I'm not even in the same place anymore. I'm not in Brownsville anymore. So how do I hold on to that? How do I cling on to that to where my son doesn't miss out on all of the delicious things that I grew up eating? And how do I also incorporate serving people, helping people, connecting with people on the floor, like directly, serving them and seeing what can I do to help? That's all I want to do. I just want to help. So I started doing PopUps. And, they obviously went well because here I am. And I started to think, because I have no money, mind you, remember, I have no money, still a thing. Didn't have money then, still don't have money now. But I had something I could use. And I think that by putting those together, I came up with a really good idea. I can work for a living and be miserable and not serve anybody, or I can work for a living and make part of my work, how can I help my neighbor? How can I be a good neighbor? Because let me tell you something. Everybody thinks that they can change the world, and I'm not here to do that. I have zero interest in changing the world, actually. What I do want to be is a good neighbor. What I do want to do is create something where I plant my roots down I turn to my neighbor who looks nothing like me, doesn't live like I do, nothing, couldn't be more different. But we can bond. We can find something that makes us realize our commonalities. We're so busy trying to and that's another thing. So currently, there's this individualism thing that is, I guess it's not current, but individualism here is a big thing. And I love that everybody's unique, super cool, love that for you. But I'm really interested in what connects us. How am I like you? How am I like you? We don't look the same. We probably have completely different lives. But there is something that I know that we have in common. How can I make people willing to sit down, get over everything that makes them different, and bond? How can I teach people to be good neighbors? Food. Food will shut me up. Ask my husband. Food, ooh, I'm mad, you're taking me to eat? Oh, let's go. All right, everything's forgiven. Still nervous, by the way. This is one. I chose my dish. My dish is food. Food is a tool. Yes, we obviously need it to survive, but food is a tool. Food connects people. It reminds you of who you are. It shows us, the way that people want to be so different. It shows us our differences. But it also reminds us that we have a lot in common. So fast forward, I've got a pop-up going. It's going really well. I was on top of the world. I thought that was it. Life tends to just happen. It just goes, it does whatever it wants with no regard for your desires. That's not gonna happen. You want something to happen, the universe is gonna give you something else. You gotta be okay with it. You gotta pivot, So I saved up all my little coins and I got myself into a restaurant. If you were visiting my restaurant when we first opened, I'm sorry. So sorry about that. It's a work in progress. It's very, like I said, sorry about that. But I had this place, the building, that's my lease. That's my roof at this point. That's my business. I now have something that I could leverage to serve people, regardless if the food might have not been the best at that time, regardless if things were lacking, regardless if we had 4 tables inside. We had a space that was a safe space. We have a space that's a safe space. We have a ground that's ours. And by leveraging what I do have, because again, I don't have money, let's go back to that. I don't have money, but I do have a space. I have a brand. I have a following. I have a community that I've created in the last 4 years of people who will pay to listen to me ramble because they believe in me. Because you know what? Deep down, something resonates with you. I know it does. So here we are. I chose my dish, and I knew that food was the way that I could get people to connect. I leverage what I know I have. I have a brand. I have a business. I can use that to feed people, which we do, by the way, because food is not a privilege. Food is a right. And I fundamentally believe that. So in my restaurant, somebody comes in and they're hungry. Come eat. You're not going to walk out of here hungry, regardless of what you've got going on, regardless of what's in your purse. You're not going to leave here hungry. When I started to implement that, I quickly realized that the location of my restaurant has a high need. 1 in 4 households in the area of my business, they depend on some level of government assistance. That neighborhood is historically low income, and you can see the need. You see it walking by. So when people come in and they ask me for a glass of water because they're too ashamed to ask me for a taco, I realize that that's something I can change. You don't need to be embarrassed about needing a meal. Come in, we're friends. Come in, you're safe. And it takes me back to when I was little and wondering why the definition of community didn't click with me. And it's like an aha moment. I just want to feed people some food. I just want to make sure you have a full belly. So we implemented a program where we give away food. You're not gonna walk out hungry. Then I thought, you know what? Let's really get crazy and let's do a Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day meal every year. Yeah, for the foreseeable future, you have no holidays. That's okay. So every Thanksgiving Day and every Christmas Day, me and my family wake up at the crack of dawn, we get to our restaurant, and we start organizing piles and piles and piles of donations. More turkeys than I want to admit were cooked in my oven. I don't want to look at a turkey again, but I have till November. And so we started to build all of that. And now here we are. I'm giving people food. I'm getting to show people, literally show them that, hey, you don't have to have a lot, but people want to do good. People want to help. People want to be part of a solution. People don't want to be problems. They just don't know where to go. How do I get through these hoops and obstacles to help? Direct mutual aid is the way to do it. Wake up, go somewhere, see how you can help somebody. Come to my restaurant. I'll show you how we can feed people. The power of people will always reign. That to be said, so we chose our dish. We're leveraging what you do have. Your ingredients may vary. Your story is not like mine. My story is not like yours. Take what I tell you and apply it to yourself however you see fit, but do it, apply it, be helpful, be a good neighbor. We can all help each other and lean on each other. Know how to use your heat. Too much heat, you're gonna burn it. Not enough heat, it's not gonna be cooked. Find your lane, stick to your lane, and be happy with that, because we're not changing the world. We can just change our neighborhoods, we can change ourselves, and we can walk out of here being better people. Thank you for listening to me today. My goodness, I appreciate it. God, Jesus.